Hi there. Welcome back to Greg Teaches. In this lesson, we'll be going over reactions, how to start, where to begin, and hopefully expanding upon the manufacturing video from before. Without further ado, let us get started. So we talked a bit about ISK per hour in our last video, where we went over manufacturing. So now that you know what you need to manufacture, you know how to set all that up and see what's profitable. Now, how do you build that T2 stuff? Well, let's take a look. First things first, I'm going to go ahead and shoot for a nice solid 10 runs with 10 BPs and 10 lines. I'm going to go for making 10 bifrosts here. So, with these 10 bifrosts, we're going to take a look. Okay. So it looks like our investment here is going to be about, investment is going to be about 376 million, right? Which means a total profit of 293 million after taxes and selling at the market price currently. Which, if we check this little PPU box, 71 mil a pop, right? And they're pretty cheap to manufacture from the looks of it. So let's get going. Let's assume we already have our raw materials set up, okay? So we're going to go from raw to processed because we have these materials ready to go in our manufacturing Athanor, manufacturing Sotio, or our Tatara. And forgive my pronunciation. I'm an indie guy, not a grammar guy. So let's take a look. I like to sort this by quantity to determine what exactly we need. And for this example, we're actually going to ignore T1 item because we're going to assume we have the bifrosts. Or the Talwar? Yeah, the Talwar. So, let's take a look. So our first step, from the looks of it, is that we're going to need some Fernite alloy, right? And then ceramic powder, liquid. We can ignore the liquid ozone. Why? If you remember in the last video, that is the fuel block, which we're assuming we're buying on the fuel blocks, which, of course, if you manufacture them, this is how much you need of everything, right? So let's take a look here. I'm going to leave this tab open here so I can compare and contrast with this reaction. Now this reaction spreadsheet you can find on the Horde website. I'll also be linking it in the description. This is a very complex reaction formula. Obviously, you can see copy of a copy of a copy because of how many times I've copied it. So, as you can see here, for total amount of reaction slots, this is where you'll put your total number of reaction slots for all of your characters. So say you have 5 characters with 5 slots apiece. That would be 25 reaction slots here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Skill level, assume across the board here, I like to put 4. Some of my tunes are 5, some of my tunes are 4, so I round it over to 4, right? Which reduces time reactions take. That's about it. No skill that you will use will reduce the material cost. All that's going to be the rigs on the Tatara. We're going to assume we're building an R10. Obviously, you can change this, right? There's a couple of spots here, public, horde, space. Also, you can set up, as you can see here, available systems can be configured in configuration reaction systems. So if we take a look down here, configuration reaction systems, we actually can click on and create one. So, for example, we're going to create one, and we're going to have it be in Qt, which it's not, but we're going to put it in Qt. Awesome. And then we're going to give it, it's a null, and let's say it's an Tatara with T2 and T2, right? And you can also calculate shipping. You know how much M3s you need to be shipping, what your shipping cost looks like percentage-wise. All that stuff's great. What the tax looks like. I keep it a solid 10%, just to assume all 10s. Very good. So now we have a new system set up. So let's go back to configuration, step 1, and let's change that to Qt EBC. Fantastic. As you can see, it calculates the system cost index here, calculates the material efficiency bonus and the time efficiency bonus. Very good. And then we are going to set up the days per reaction cycle. Essentially, this is going to determine how long do you want to be reacting for before you sell and restock back at GDO or R10. So in this case, I put 3 days per cycle. I like doing 3. it's enough time for me to still make a good amount of money throughout the week, but not have too much mental tax. All right, and all these gray boxes are all the calculations done for you. The white ones you are actually required to input. So then, you want to say, what's the method for inputs? Well, we're going to do G to buy, assuming, right? Method for outputs, we're going to try to do G to sell, right? Shipping for inputs, outputs, fuel, all that stuff you can change and mark and change whatever you like. You can set up your fees for shipping and sales stack, or sales and fee rather. I'm going to do no shipping costs because I'm shipping my own materials, but you will want to fill those in as needed. And a little cache refresher at the bottom. So if something gets stuck, you can just put random stuff in there, and it'll just refresh everything on the spreadsheet. Pretty handy if it gets stuck. So great. We've set up our reaction slots. We've set up the system we're building the reaction slots in, and we've set up the structure we're going to be reacting in. Now, let's pick the reactions. So let's take a look here. There we go, just like that. Okay. So this might seem overwhelming, right? So essentially, to read this, profit percentage, recurring investment, recurring profit, profit per slot, G to quantities sold per day, percent of G to made per day, slots, and instances. These are what's called complex reactions. A complex reaction is made up of other reactions, which those reactions are made up of moon goo. So how the process works, just to give you an example how the process works here. Let's pull up a notepad. So for example, we have ferrite alloy here, right? So ferrite alloy. Pop quiz, is that a complex reaction? Or is that a building block for a complex reaction? Okay, if you said it's a building block, you're correct, because these are the only complex reactions in the game, right? And looking at these, I think, there's not a lot of options here. What does ferrite alloy, you think? What does ferrite alloy make up? Well, if you said ferrite carbide, you'd be correct, right? So let's go ahead and click on the advanced, right? We have what? Ferrite carbide, right? So I double click on that. Well, I guess I can't. You can do that with components and stuff, but for the sake of this process, I'll actually look up ferrite alloy for you. I want to give you this visualization as well as the narration. I find that helps. So, as you can see here, ferrite carbide, right? Ferrite carbide. Ferrite carbide. Right. What makes up ferrite carbide? Ferrite alloy, ceramic powder, and hydrogen fuel blocks for the job, which turn into, like 100, 105, right? Turn into 10,000. You don't need to know these numbers. You don't. The spreadsheet's going to do it all for you. I wanted to break it down so you can see what a complex reaction means. And that's what it means. It means you need other reactions to make up the reaction, the complex reaction. So if I click on ferrite alloy, though, and break it down even further, it consists of, actually I have to click on the alloy reaction formula, it consists of scandium and vanadium, right? Those are both, the scandium, I believe is, anyway, actually, let me give you the right answers here. So I actually Eve University on this because it's a good reference. Okay, so scandium, as you can see here, is from R8, and vanadium is R16, right? So in order to produce ferrite alloy, you need to be mining scandium and vanadium, or vanadite and exunite, right? So look at the calendar, take a look what moons are coming up that contain the materials you need, right? And if not, we found out if you just you miss a moon reaction, miss a moon pop, or if you decide it's not worth your time, Soloth will hate you, but I will tell you that you don't have to, right? The more you mine, the more your profit margin goes up, the more money you make on your end goal. You're essentially getting discounts on your imports. Because at the end of the day, if you were to import every piece of thing you need to make here, the 367 million worth of raw material, if you were to import all of that and turn them all into Bifrost and flip them in G to cell, you would make 302 million, right? You would still profit, right? So there's a lot of money to be made here, right? I don't want to say minimal effort because that's not correct. It's just the learning curve is steep, right? So that's why we're here. All right. Anyway, back on track. Now we know why and what those complex reactions mean, right? So what we're going to do is now calculate what we need. So we're going to go all the way to advanced because that'll tell us all of the complex reactions, which this spreadsheet will do all of the intermediate ones for you too, right? So let's get started. So it looks like we'll need a metric ton of ferrite carbide. Not literally a metric ton, obviously, but we'll need a lot, right? So that's what, 662,981. And we should probably round up. So taking a look here, it's like, well, how do I know, how do I know how much I'm making? Well, let's put 4 in here, for example. And what that's going to do is, as you can see, it's like, wait a minute. I thought we started with 24 slots. What do you mean I've already used 16 slots? This spreadsheet is calculating all of the intermediate reactions that build up to our complex. So it's basically taking 4 times 4, right? 4 instances times 4 slots is 16. So I know for a fact we won't need that much. Sorry, my cat is purring into the mic maybe. All right. So let's put 2, right? So we have 17 slots, we'll put 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and head down to this section here. We're going to go to React, and the top right will tell us how much we make every 3 days. So we're making, what, 2 million, right? So that's way too much. We don't nearly need that much. Whoops. So let's go back to pick reactions. And we're going to check the ferrite carbide. We're just going to do 1, right? Right. 1. How much we make? 1 million. So it looks like we make a little more than we need. That's okay. Having more is always going to be great. If you want to end up selling more, expanding. Of course, if you wanted to break it down here, okay, we have 1 million. How many Bifrosts do I have to make for 1 million, right? Let's refresh. Okay, there we go. 15 Bifrosts, right? Ish for 1 million. Perfect. So we'll gauge our responses on 15 because we want to keep this scaling up as much as possible. If you want, right? This can be as small or as complex as you make it. So we got the ferrite carbide. Next step, right? Ceramic fibers, right? So we need 213,000. Not a whole lot, so we'll just put 1 here as well. We'll check the shopping, or rather the reaction. So awesome, we're making, again, an excess. And of course, any excess you can either sell, or use for other ships. I know ceramic fibers, for example, is used in every T2 manufacturing, every faction. So, great, ceramic fibers can never have enough of that. So we have what? We have our ferrite carbide, we have our ceramic fibers. That means we have used 8 slots, right? Because of 4 to 1, which means we have 17 more slots. Awesome. What else are we making? Phenolic composites, right? We only need a little bit, so let's just do 1. And you can see this one's a little hefty, right? This one takes 5. Why? Because it takes more intermediate reactions to make this complex reaction, which we're making, what, 224,000? Perfect. Oh, actually not perfect. We're making 10 times what we need here, right? So what does that mean? That means if you're doing a 3-day cycle and you make 10 times the amount, you have 30 days worth of phenolic composites in one run, right? You can sell the rest. You can sell the rest. You can use the rest for other T2 manufacturing. I know phenolitic composites and ceramic fibers both are used for other T2 production as well. So you just have a lot to explore here. You have a lot to work with. And again, This can be as big or as small as you'd like it to be. So, okay, we've done that, right? Phenolic composites. Fulleриdes, right? We need a very small amount of that too. So we'll just do one there too. And that leaves us with huge excess, right? Huge excess. So we still have plenty. Fulleриdes done. And then, and Fulleриdes, again, it's that same concept. Fulleриdes, anything that isn't like, doesn't have an adjective, or rather, doesn't make any sense because you don't know what that means. Ceramic fibers, phenolic composites, Fulleриdes, nanotransistors, hypersonic fibers, ferrogel. They are all used, and fermionic condensates, they're all used in other T2. So all that stuff, if you have excess, that's not an issue. All right, so we got that. Ouch, don't bite me. All right, we got that. We're going to go for the plasmonic metamaterials. That is unique. That is unique to Mimitar. So we need what? 11,000. So let's do one. Oops. One. React. Perfect. We have a great amount. All right, nanotransistors. Nanotransistors. We need one. Ooh, and now we've exceeded our allocated slots, right? So I'm going to assume you have, instead of 5 tunes with 5 reaction slots, right? Let's scale up a little bit. Let's do 35. Maybe some of them have 10. Just for the sake of this example. And of course, you know, I'm making all of these. You can alternate if you don't have the slots, right? We've seen that phenolitic composites, Fulleриdes, nanotransistors, hypersonic fibers. We've seen all those spots have just make a gross excess of. So you can just make that once and then make all the unique stuff. You don't have to keep making the excess. But what's next? We need one of those. And we got nanotransistors, yep. And we need the ferrogel. And we need fermionic condensates. All this stuff, right? Looks like we need a total of 43 slots, right? But again, I'm just doing this for example. You don't need 43 slots. If you make fermionic condensates once, you have enough to make, look at that, you only need 411, right? You get 20,000, right? And that's a billion worth of reactions out of the way. So, right, what I like to do, take all this stuff down. Did we double check, right? Did we have enough for everything? We have enough ferrite carbonide, check. Fibers, check. Composites, check. Fulleриdes, check. Plasmonic metamaterials, check. Nanotransistors, check. Hypersonic fibers, check. Ferrogel, awesome. And fermionic condensates, looks good to me. Everything excess you can sell. So here's my next thought. Now we've done that. We've got the amount of reactions we need. Now our next step is, well, how this is going to cost, right? So from the breakdown, if you were to buy all of the individual pieces, your initial investment looks like 8 bill, which you can think, holy what? You know, that's a metric ton of money. Keep in mind, this is for 3 days. She's biting me, I'm sorry. She wants attention. That's for 3 days. And that's assuming all of this content is maxed out, right? So let's go to, so after the initial investment of 8 bill, then your recurring investment every 3 days is 4 bill. Your recurring profit is 1.2 bill with the profit per day of 400 mil and a profit percentage of 30%. That's if you were to sell all of the reactions, you would make 30% of the money you invested in back. Right? So if you put 4 bill into it, you would get what? 30% of 4 bill, which is, you know, 10% is what? 4 mil, 30 times, or 3 times 4 is 12, so 120 mil, maybe. I'm doing calculations wrong, so we'll let the calculator do it. So Yeah, you make, I was totally wrong. You make 1.2 bill, essentially. I mean, it's what it's calculating here, right? Ish, 1.2 bill-ish, every 3 days, if you max it out. Of course, who has 8 bill lying around to liquidate into reactions? Nobody, right? So some things that you need to get, right? Reaction BPOs. We've clicked, now we at the pick reaction slots here, we're going to go start shopping. So this will help us buy what we need. Take a look and see what our stock needs and what we need to buy, right? These are all musts, right? Granted, because of what we determined with our values here and how much over we're buying, over we're making rather, we don't need a whole lot of these. So what that means is phenolitic composites, where are they at? You don't need to, right? You can just use one. You don't need to. The ceramic fibers, right? We only need one. The fermonic condensates, we only need one. And ferrogel, all that stuff, you only need one. And that means even further, breaking this down, right? We need these fuel blocks eventually. I'd recommend getting as much as you can because you'll need a lot and you'll burn through a lot. But the Mungu, for the stuff like the phenolitic composites and fulleриdes and fermonic condensates, you don't need that much. So 4 bill is a lot, right? So what's our most costing stuff? Disoprosium, right? What do I use disoprosium in? How much? So now here's where you can cross-reference what you actually need, right? So let's go to raw. Like, well, I don't want to spend a bill on disoprosium, right? I don't have that money, right? We've all been there. Disoprosium, you need 500. It's having you get 14,000, right? Much less. And that's for every 15. So you don't decide, what, instead of that, I'm going to buy that. Done. Okay? Next. What else do I need that's ridiculously expensive? Neodymium. How much neodymium do we need? 24,000. 2,400? How much is it having you buying? 14K. Yep, that's much different, right? And then another big one, promethium. 600 instead of 19,000, or excuse me, 14,000. Right, so cross-reference this with this, and always round up. Always round up. 197, no, get 200. Get 250. You got 600, you need 600 promethium, get 700, get 800. Give yourself a little bit of slack. And so, what that means is, now that we have all the materials, say we bought all the reaction formulas, we have the goo ready, we have the fuel blocks ready, we're ready to start reacting. Finally, step 4, react. It breaks down cesium carbonate, cesium cadmide. Geez, 2 runs, 50 slots a pop. So that means your 2 reaction formulas you're going to run at 50 runs, right? Now you're thinking, well, we didn't buy all the Mungu we needed because I only bought enough for the Bifrost. Like, yeah, okay, yes, that's true. So what you're going to do is adjust the runs on the fly. The game won't let you make more than the materials you have, so max it out. Make as many runs as you can. If it's under 50 for 1 run, then split that run in 2. Instead of doing 50 runs each slot, do 25 each slot, right? Or 10 each slot, or whatever it ends up doing. To that. Carbon polymers, ceramic powder, all this stuff. And specifically the disoporite, that's where the disoprosium is going to go, right? You're not going to make 100 runs of disoporite because you don't need that much. So that being said, gauge your expenses. If you can afford to put all this money into it, great. You'll make the money back, I promise you that. We look here, profits, what 1.24 billion, right? That's crazy. That's just the reactions. You start diversifying that portfolio. You start moving around these reactions into profitable ships, because we've determined that making the reactions and then turning the reactions into Bifrosts make you more money than just selling the reactions. Make a bunch of Bifrosts. You run out of Bifrosts to make, sell the excess goo. You run out of you run out of Bifrost to make, and you want to still make more stuff. Make more stuff, right? We don't want to do Bifrost anymore. Let's say you want to do. Let's say you want to make Guardians, right? So you want to make Guardians 4/4, just to get a little bit into Invention. The best augmenter to use if you're making a multiple amount is the Decryptor. This one specifically. Doing the math and determining like cost with data cores and all that stuff. The optimized augmentation decryptor is going to give you the highest success rate within reason, and then the max amount of runs. Right, the runs are really what's important, because you're getting not only getting a little bit of material efficiency, so you get 4%, but you're getting 8 runs per blueprint copy. Right, so that's great. That's a really good margin. Of course, you can do your own math if you'd like. I've done a lot of the math for the decryptors when it comes to like cruisers and stuff like that, but frigates and destroyers might be a little different. So, that being said, make sure you do your homework. Make sure you get those reaction formulas situated, set up. Make sure you're not buying in excess unless you want to. And, make sure you're making that money. This has been Greg Teaches Reactions, and I'm signing off. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.